Critical condition continues. Beltazing sorry, crippling, sexual degrading, or committing crime against my power and doing what he wants. Detective Constable saying sorry to me for submitting illegal information. Like I said, they crippled me at 13-year-old to where I didn't exercise for years at a vital stage in my life at 13 and 14-year-old. They physically restrained my power to obviously institutionalise somebody, which is later on now, 20 years later, locked my jaw shut. But they had to significantly made steps to institutionalise me at the age of 13-year-old. Pulled all my physical power out, stopped me from exercising for 2 years at the age of 13 and 14-year-old, and it's obviously disfigured my body for life. Because I didn't exercise for so long and I was sat around there saying it's depression, it's this and that, they crippled a 13-year-old boy to create a fat wanker that can't handle his own shit. So they crippled a 13-year-old boy and internalised all my physical exertion of power, and I gained about 3 stone in weight through my growth spurt, and it's obviously left my body significantly disfigured for life. It's out of proportion for life. I've got serious stretch marks. My muscles that's a serious point in your life where your muscles develop. I've got a weird posture and stuff because my muscles never developed. My shoulders, I've got bad rotator cuffs because I never exercised in my teenage years, and they just come out of place straight away. So my shoulders are weak because they never formed shoulder muscles. So because I didn't exercise as a teenager, when your muscles are building, the rotator cuffs in my shoulders are completely loose. Once you get to a certain age, your muscles and the growth hormone stops, especially after your teenage years. So yeah, over some years messing around with weights and stuff, I've actually managed to build some rotator cuffs, so I can use a punch bag to some extent now, which I couldn't as a late teen or early 20s because my shoulder used to come out. But now I can actually use weights without my shoulder instantly coming out, but it still comes out regardless, and it always will, because once it's come out once, it comes out for the rest of your life. So I can never lift heavy weights. I'll never be able to lift heavy weights, even if I'd took steroids or something, because my shoulders would just come out. And that's because at a young age, or in my teens, I didn't exercise or build proper muscle, so my posture's completely incorrect. I slouch over because the growth hormone you get as a teenager, it never formed my body correctly. And either way, like I said, my body's completely disfigured. I've got loose skin, I've got stretch marks. It's completely unappealing to sexual mates or females. It's obviously has a significant impact on your sexual reproduction rights or whatever else, or your power in society, because it's not really seen in society that much. So internally, killing my power, saying sorry or apologising to me with Detective Constable, going into my power and committing crime against me and saying sorry for it. That's because they committed crime to make a fat wanker that can't handle his own shit, misusing the institutional self. They physically internalised all my ability to get power as a 12-year-old or 13-year-old boy, and it left me completely incapable of exercising or sat around for 2 or 3 years. They blamed it on depression, saying you're depressed, all this and that. It had nothing to do with that. It's still a problem to this day, and it has been for 20 years because they physically internalised my ability to exert power. So they've basically gone into the institutional self, incriminated my ability to get physical power or exert energy, saying it's ADHD, blaming ADHD. So it's your energy, your natural energy, your natural spark, your natural power. They've internalised your physical power as a 12-year-old, saying it's problematic and it causes issues and it's ADHD. So they internalised it and it crippled a 13-year-old boy. They internalised my physical power, and still to this day, 20 years later, that internalisation's now locked my jaw shut, and I've obviously never got into any physical education of any relevant standard at all. So, but all internally, all day, especially now, I've crippling, degrading, killing my power, saying sorry with Detective, killing my power whilst apologising for committing crime against my power and making a fat wanker, which has obviously significantly impacted my life. I'm not, like I said, I'm waiting to go on hunger strike next month, and evidently I'll end up dead or committing suicide. I've been waiting to do that for years in a critical condition. But now, crippling, degrading, my jaw locked shut with Detective killing my power whilst apologising, saying sorry. telling me I'm a liar and saying sorry into my power. So, apologising for me internally for creating a fat wanker that can't handle his own shit. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is they're committing crime against me with my life. They crippled me at 13-year-old. They've never acknowledged it whatsoever, but they have internally because I'm subject to sorry all day. Sexually degrading my power, committing crime, saying sorry into my power, while going into my power to commit crime against me and saying sorry for it, for crippling a 13-year-old boy. So basically, they've never acknowledged internalising my physical control over my own life at 13-year-old, which crippled a 13-year-old boy ever. But they have internally because they say sorry into it all day while committing crime against me, imitating killing my power while saying sorry to me for committing crime against me. Essentially, committing crime against me from the system and saying sorry to me for it while getting away with what he wants, taking what he wants and killing your power. So, critical condition still continues. I've said it from the start, I'm fucked anyway. I've got to force suicide because of how bad it is, but I've said in every video I cannot believe how unregulated it is that these officers are apparently going into people's power to commit crime against them. So basically for me, that I had my entire life in front of me, they've apparently gone into my power and submitted information to suggest that I'd been mentally ill and obese, which has completely got nothing to do with my life at all. That would never happen. So what they've done is they apparently commit crime against you by going into your power to commit crime against you from the system. So information submitted in the system to claim you'd be obese or I'd be obese as an individual, which then evidently gets put into the control or the system, into the institutional self, and that's what ends up happening. So they weaponise institutionalisation use to commit crime against people, and it ends up having an abnormal or catastrophic effect on the individual like myself in society, committing crime against people in the public that've got nothing to do with it. I've lost 80% of my life in a controlled state because you're not getting power. So when I'm trying to have sex, they internalise my sex power and communicate or commit crime against me saying you're not getting power, so why you're trying to have sex, because they control your life. My jaw is completely locked shut. Basically stop me getting power. They've cost me 80% of my life. So there's obviously a significant portion of my life that I'll never get to live because they're committing crime against me all day with my physical life snagged. All I've been subject to now for 4 years straight, all day, every day, is my jaw completely locked shut with all my sex power or sexual arousal snagged into sorry with a detective committing sexually degrading my power, entitled to take what he wants and killing my power all day while saying sorry to me. That's all I can explain it as. So they've internalised every single time I've spoke to a female throughout my teenage years, my 20s. These are obviously times when your body's going through a change. They've internalised all these events into one realisation of committing crime, saying sorry into it all day. So I can't speak, I can't move, my jaw's completely locked shut, my ability to project words or speak or apparently get power in society has all been encapsulated and physically internalised into sorry while committing crime against me with a magnitude of all these events, a magnitude of 1,000 crimes. So my life in society is never changing. It never changes in society outside of my jaw being locked shut and a detective committing crime against my power telling me I'm a liar and saying sorry for it all day, every day with a magnitude of 1,000 crimes. So they've cost me obviously my life. Life is the most precious thing on earth. Life is the most precious and valuable thing that you can imagine, and that's why they're committing crime, because they're going into that and creating their own issues or creating catastrophic and barbaric problems that are essentially getting them gratification out of it. They've internalised somebody's physical power. So what I mean by that is I've never been in a sexual relationship. I've got very limited sexual experience because every time I've tried to have sex, they use me in a controlled state to humiliate my power and put it in the system. So I'm basically in a controlled state to have crime committed against me in a controlled state by officers in the system, whether it's assaults, whether it's sexual degrading, sexual assaults, and they say sorry internally all day into that feeling. So they're killing my power, committing crime against me, then replicating a detective, going into it and saying sorry into it. So they've made an internal punch bag in a controlled state where they control me into apparently having my power killed, then saying sorry to me for it in a controlled state. It's called mortification of self. But this is a very serious case of it. because they've snagged my jaw completely locked shut and they've cost me 80% of my life. They're saying it's 80% of your power in society. It's 80% of my life outright. I've lost 80% of my life because they're committing crime against me all day to call me a liar. Simple as that. Calling me a liar. They've snagged, physically restrained my life, calling me a liar, and cost me 80% of my life. So, like I said, I go on hunger strike next week. I'm just making this video because as I'm making it, I'm subject to sorry with detective, crippling, degrading, mortification of self, committing crime against me, calling me a liar and saying sorry into my pal for committing crime against me and creating a situation where I'm a fat wanker that's cost me 80% of my life. They've never acknowledged this. They've never given me any correspondence, but internalised all the feelings of entitlement, or all the entitlement to justice within the system, or all the power I've got within the system, saying sorry into it and pulling it out whilst committing crime against me. In other words, stripping out any acknowledgement they've done anything wrong while saying sorry to me and killing my power. So, committing crime against me internally, telling me I'm a liar and saying sorry to me for committing crime against me and pulling my life out. So saying sorry to me whilst pulling out any acknowledgement they did anything wrong and being entitled to do what they want. Forced suicide continues, saying sorry to me for crippling a 13-year-old boy and disfiguring my body. When I was 13-year-old, they forced me to gain an excessive amount of weight that's left my body disfigured for the rest of my life. And they're saying sorry into my power while committing crime against me and pulling out any knowledge they did anything wrong. Problem still continues, still waiting to commit suicide. They've absolutely destroyed somebody's life. It's absolutely wrecked my life. Still committing crime against me internally while telling me sorry while committing crime, while pulling my life out. Stopping me getting power and saying sorry into it while sadistic and sexually degrading torture. Problem continues.